Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Large Guys podcast. It's another edition of Bytes. This time we're previewing and doing predictions for Hell in a Cell, which is going to be this weekend. I have a special guest, Vikram Prashar.
Vikram Prashar from Wrestling with Awareness.
There you go. It's an honor to have you as a guest. We don't have many guests on this show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're able to find time to be on this. And we're just gonna, chop it up and talk a little Hell in a Cell. We're just gonna run down the card and just kind of give our thoughts, our predictions, talk a little bit about the build to each match. But before we jump into it, just what are your kind of overall thoughts going into this pay-per-view? Backlash being pretty good, and then some of the stuff in between.
I think this is going to be one of the pay-per-views that definitely surprises us in terms of how good it is, because going into this, I'm not gonna lie, there are a lot of rematches. Not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, but in a way it's something that we're going to the show seeing a lot of stuff that we've seen before. But the thing with pay-per-views like Hell in a Cell, when we have Hell in a Cell matches, WWE's always smart in terms that they find a way to wow us. They find a way to have a match that's just gonna take the fans' attention, and they're not going to believe what they saw, because of they always find some way to make Hell in a Cell crazy, always. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I think we're all going to be surprised by how good the show turns out to be.
Yeah. And you mentioned the rematches, right on the nose of that one. I felt like Backlash was already a lot of rematches, and we're getting, Drew and Lashley again, which, we've seen. And we're getting Cesaro and Rollins again, Rhea and Charlotte. Well, I guess they were in the triple threat, but I mean, we've seen that. Bianca and Bayley. So yeah, a lot of rematches. But like you said, I mean, I feel like Backlash, because there were so many rematches on that card, people weren't really going into it with many expectations. And then most of the matches, if not all, delivered or over delivered, I thought. And it ended up being a really enjoyable show. So yeah, like you said, I would totally agree that this is going to be one that kind of sneaks up on you. And then it's one of those things where you're like, I wish the build, they could just build better to these matches and it would be even more meaningful than it is now. But, good wrestling is good wrestling. Do you have any favorite Hell in a Cell matches from the past that you always think of?
Oh, yes. This is actually, because I've even said this on my TikTok, and it's a pretty hot take. I'm not going to lie. Mm-hmm. But my favorite Hell in a Cell match of all time, in my opinion, the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time, I may even say, is WrestleMania 28, Triple H versus The Undertaker with Shawn Michaels as special guest referee. I know we've had so many classic Hell in a Cell matches like Triple H and Batista, Undertaker and Mankind. I know we've had so many classics. We've had Banks and Flair. We've had Cena and Orton. I believe we had Michaels and Taker too. I just think that there was just something special. Well, obviously it was a special moment. We can all agree between DX and Undertaker. That Hell in a Cell match just wowed me more than any other, both from a storyline perspective and from an in-ring perspective.
Okay, respect. Yeah, that's definitely one that I don't necessarily think of, because I mean, I would consider Cena and Orton probably my favorite. But I also like a more recent one, when they did the tag team Hell in a Cell it was Usos and New Day.
Oh, that one is very good too. Yeah, that one's up there.
I think they brought in a lot of spots that you've never seen, especially because it was a tag team dynamic. 4 guys in the cell versus 2. A lot more.
One that gets overlooked is John Moxley, at the time Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins.
Yeah,
I know the end with Bray Wyatt was a little bit corny, but going into that, they've done that spot with Moxley and Rollins headbutting each other and both falling through the announce tables so many times since then, and I don't blame them, because that spot's just very exciting to see.
Yeah. Anybody just falling onto from that high up is always exciting for sure. But yeah, so I am excited to see. I think one thing that is great about Hell in a Cell is that, especially now, wrestlers are getting more creative and trying to find new spots, because I mean, we've seen a ton of spots already, and it's hard to like, you think about like a ladder match too, like, what in a ladder match have we not seen? It's the same thing with Hell in a Cell, and yet somehow there's always something new.
They always find a way, man.
So I am excited to see. I think we're getting the WWE and the Universal titles in the Cell, I believe.
I believe so. I'm not sure if they announced Reigns and Mysterio to be inside Hell in a Cell, but I believe that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that would make the most sense. And I mean, last year's Roman in the Cell last year with Jay was
that's so up there. I was an emotional roller coaster, man.
Yeah,
And I was one of those person who was straight up like really behind Jey Uso because they just told that story so well. And even though it was early in Roman's heel run, I was just like, he's too good of an underdog. Like I want to see him win, man.
Yeah, and Roman's acting when he was pretending to be like sorry for everything. I mean, that sold me.
Yeah.
And then when he went for the low blow and everything, it was incredible. But we're gonna jump into the card, run down the matches. The first one we'll talk about has yet to be announced, but we were talking about it earlier, and it's most likely gonna happen on the pay-per-view. That's Seth Rollins versus Cesaro. Cesaro came back on Ding Dong Hello last week. I thought that was a really good segment with Seth and Bayley. I think Seth and Bayley need to be interacting a little bit more on SmackDown because I mean, they're probably very close with her and Becky's relationship, and I'm sure they've been around each other a lot. But Cesaro made his return. He attacked Rollins, and it's most likely going to lead to another match at Hell in a Cell. What do you think about that match, and who do you see winning this one?
I'm hoping it's Cesaro just so we don't see these guys fight again. Because I was just telling you this before the recording that if Cesaro loses this, WWE is gonna want these guys to have a rubber match.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, okay, both these guys are talented. I was probably more happy than majority of people when they announced their match at WrestleMania because I was the type of fan to go to WWE live events and wait by the parking lot to see if I could meet wrestlers as a kid, right? And I would always see Seth Rollins and Cesaro riding together all the time.
Okay.
So whenever I watch a show, I've always known that these guys have got to be great friends. So when I was watching their match at WrestleMania, I was so happy for those two because I'm like, I know they're so happy right now that they're sharing this moment out there. And I was so happy Cesaro won because I'm a big Seth Rollins fan, but I'm a huge Cesaro fan and I've always wanted him to have his moment, and he got that moment. I'm not going to lie though. In my opinion, Roman Reigns and Cesaro was match of the year so far. We're halfway through 2021, which is unbelievable because I know this year has gone by super fast, but we're halfway through. And in my opinion, that's match of the year so far. And I'm like, oh, they're attacking Cesaro. I can't wait to see this new storyline, Reigns and Cesaro. And then I hear, burn it down. And I'm like, I love you, Seth, but why? I'm not sure if I want to see you guys feud again. And they've been entertaining with what they've been doing on SmackDown, but I am ready to see this feud end. So I'm going with Cesaro.
Yeah, I'm definitely ready. Like you said, the feud has been good, for what it was. They definitely have knocked a lot of it out of the park, especially leading up to Mania earlier this year. And it is a bit disappointing to have to see another rematch, but I mean, we know their work and we know that they work very well. So I mean, if they're going to give us another great match, and if it's to get Cesaro to win, another big win, then great. I don't know necessarily where he goes after this. Does he go back for Roman, or is there something in between? Because I mean, I feel like Roman and Jimmy is going to be a storyline, and then the reports of Cena wrestling Roman at SummerSlam. So it's like I'm not sure where Cesaro factors in, and I don't know if maybe if you put him in the Intercontinental title scene, is that like a demotion necessarily or what? But I also do think Cesaro should win this. It is a little tough though, because I mean I can't remember the last time Rollins won a match, let alone a pay-per-view match. So I am afraid that he will win, not because I don't like Rollins, but because it's going to extend the feud longer than it needs to. But I do want Cesaro to win, so I'm going to go with Cesaro as well. Regardless, it's going to be an incredible match. Maybe we'll see him bust out the UFO again.
Of course, like we're saying, we do both agree this feud has gone on, like that's been a good feud. It's gone on a little bit longer than we think. But at the end of the day, with the amount of talent that these two guys have, they could definitely steal them. They could steal the card. Like they could be match of the night.
100%. Oh, 100%. Yeah. At Mania, they had one of the most memorable matches, and there were a lot of really good matches.
Agreed.
On that weekend. So definitely, they could definitely steal the show. Moving on, we'll be going to Alexa Bliss versus Shayna Baszler. I feel like you either like this Alexa Bliss storyline or you absolutely hate it. The whole dark magic stuff isn't for me, especially because I was big into the Fiend early on until some of the mishaps of creative happened. But now seeing like when Alexa first was with the Fiend, I thought it was great stuff. She's honestly doing her best. She's not necessarily given the best content or creative, but she's definitely putting everything she can into this. And roping Shayna into this, it's also a little disappointing to see Shayna being made to look like someone who's scared when we all know her background. We all remember her NXT run. She was one of the most dominant NXT Women's Champions to date, and then to have to see her kind of be in this weird kind of goofy storyline is a little disappointing. And honestly, I have no idea what to think about their match. I'll be honest. But it just doesn't seem like Alexa's going to lose because they are very invested in this character. And so I do think Alexa will be winning this match. Is it a regular match? Do we even know?
I have no idea. Honestly, I'm very on the fence with this whole Alexa Bliss stuff because I think she plays the role very well with this whole dark character. It's just, I think when the Fiend was doing things, I like the dark stuff when it's a lot more simple. Like the Fiend did it very simple in terms of like lights go out, red light goes on, kiss to the forehead or claw to the mouth, the Fiend disappears. Like that, even that is a little bit over the top, but I can still buy into that as a wrestling fan. I can't buy into, and honestly, it's not even Alexa Bliss's fault here.
No,
because I'm an Alexa Bliss fan. I can't buy into this doll stuff. I can't.
Yes.
It's horror movie 101.
Yeah.
And I was telling my friends this stuff, and they're like, "But wait, you like the Fiend stuff? You liked Alexa's stuff at first. What made you not like this ending segment with Shayna Baszler?" I like everybody involved. I like Shayna Baszler. I like Alexa Bliss. I don't mind the dark stuff. It's just that doll. I can't buy into it. I can't buy into that this doll is chasing Shayna Baszler backstage everywhere that she goes. Like you said, I can't buy Shayna Baszler being scared. We all know her background. We've all seen her NXT run. It's literally, to me, just if you want Alexa doing the Fiend gimmick, fine, that's fine with me. But don't fix what's not broken. All you need this girl to do is lights out, kiss to the forehead, or claw in the mouth, then disappear. That's all you need. You don't need to add dolls. You don't need to add who knows if maybe they're gonna add like a haunted house or something. You don't need to add any of this stuff. you lights out, she attacks someone, the lights go out, and she's gone. It's dark wrestling character 101. It worked for the Fiend, worked for the Undertaker. It'll work for Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, and it's worked for Bray multiple times.
Yeah,
every iteration.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't agree more. The doll, I think definitely when they introduced the doll, I think it was right after Mania. It doesn't even it looks ridiculous.
It's the doll. It's literally the doll.
When they were doing the close-ups of the doll and it was like laughing and then it would like bite the camera.
I'm like, okay, this is too much horror movie stuff now.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, yeah, I can't buy into it too much.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think, like the way they presented Bray, obviously they had Bray, the TV show, the kids show host, and then they had the Fiend, and they never, I think the way they presented Bray, is that this is something to take seriously, but there's also a lighthearted thing where we're not trying to be over the top scary movie. But then you do feel like with this, they're trying to be serious, and it's coming off a lot more comical than serious.
Yeah.
And one thing somebody mentioned on Twitter is that since we haven't seen Lily, people are saying the story might progress with Lily taking over Shayna's body. And because like they had it was 2 weeks ago on Raw, they had the chase, and then they cut it to a black screen and you hear Shayna screaming. I hate that idea, but again, it sounds like something they might actually run with.
I hope not. Shayna Baszler is also just someone you could book very easily. You make her the Brock Lesnar of the women's division.
That's what I thought they could have easily done. It's going to take a while to rehab the character, but
yeah,
I've always loved how badass she was, and I mean,
same.
And we believe it because you could watch her old MMA fights and see that
I'd possibly even argue she might be like the number one women's wrestler I would invest in if I was in the WWE. Like, yeah. I just think she's that believable.
Yeah, definitely. She's definitely someone you can build her. I mean, they had a lot of really good women on the NXT roster when she was there, and she was beating them all, clean.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Bianca could never beat her, and now she's a champion. So it's like they invested so much in Shayna and NXT, and it just hasn't panned out that way, and it's very unfortunate. But who do you see winning this match?
I'd like it to be Shayna Baszler, but I see it being Alexa Bliss.
Yeah. We'll see where things go. It's difficult to kind of sit through those parts, but yeah, we'll move on. We'll move on to a match that's definitely going to be really good. It's another rematch, but it's for the SmackDown Women's Championship champion Bianca Belair versus Bayley. Another rematch, but again, we know how good these two women are, and they're going to have a match. What are your thoughts, and who do you think is going to win this one?
Yeah, Bayley and Bianca. Their first match was on a SmackDown, and it was very old school to me because it was almost Bayley as the veteran. It's like Bianca, the rookie, couldn't beat her, and Bianca came close to beating her, and Bayley ended up cheating to defeat her, I believe so. But I think these two mesh well in the ring amazingly. I think the feud itself, I'm not a whole fan of the whole Bayley laughing thing. I understand why they might be doing it because I know there's definitely a lot of fans out there that find it funny and find it entertaining. Just from my personal perspective, I'm not a big fan of the whole laugh, but I know how talented Bayley is. She was my favorite thing on SmackDown for a while during her SmackDown Women's title run. Bianca Belair, I was very happy to see her win at WrestleMania. And these two are just the type where when it comes to an in-ring perspective, I can see them go all the time. So I'm very excited. I see Bianca Belair retaining simply because of all the rumors of a Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair rematch at SummerSlam. But I see this one going very well. So my money's on Bianca Belair, and I'm looking forward to this one for sure.
Yeah, I also have Bianca retaining. A rematch with Sasha is money for sure, and being able to put that off until SummerSlam, I think is a really good idea. Plus Sasha, took time off anyway. My only thing is I do wish that Bayley picked up some wins. I don't know about you, but I feel like Bayley hasn't really won. She's won like next to no matches for a while. Like I think since she beat Bianca initially earlier, like the beginning of this year, I can't remember the last time like any other match that she won. So that's one of those things. I just don't like it when there are challengers who haven't won matches, and I feel like it's happened a lot, more so in WWE on all the brands.
Yeah, it makes sense, and you're right about that. I don't remember last time she's won really.
Yeah,
she could have won on last SmackDown for all we know. It's just she hasn't won any memorable matches lately.
Yeah. And so they run into problems with that with building up challengers. they try to find, different ways or play off their history and stuff like that. But I'm an old-fashioned guy. I like seeing somebody win. Like that's what made Lashley. We'll talk about it probably later, but that's what made Lashley so credible before he won the title, is that he was wrestling a lot and he didn't take a single pin until he won the title. So that's, I guess, my only problem with it. But I do like the Bayley laugh. I'm a sucker for an obnoxious laugh when she basically took over the Thunderdome and her face on the screen. I thought that was hilarious. And then even last week when Bianca came out and basically did the same thing and laughed at Bayley when her set was destroyed, thought that was really good too. But yeah, I do see Bianca retaining because what could be ahead for her is going to be really good. We're going to move on to the next match. This one's for the Raw Women's Championship. Champion Rhea Ripley is taking on Charlotte Flair. This is technically a rematch from Mania over a year ago. They were in the triple threat together, but this is a singles match. It's going to be, Charlotte's always a polarizing character. I think she's another one of those, like, you either love her, you hate her.
Yeah.
I can see it from both sides, but I personally think she's, if not the greatest, one of the greatest. I'm a big Sasha Banks fan, so I will always say Sasha's number one for me. But you can't deny how great Charlotte Flair is in the ring.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely one of the greatest to ever do it. I don't know who my GOAT for women's wrestling would be. I'm still a sucker for like Trish and Lita. So it might be one of them. For this match though, even though it's a rematch from 2 years ago, it feels like I've seen this a lot because we've seen them in the triple threat in NXT. We just saw them in the triple threat with Asuka. And in my head, I was just thinking like, we could have done this at Backlash. But nonetheless, the match would be fantastic because they're both phenomenal in the ring. And I think that Rhea Ripley has a really, really bright future ahead of her. I'm a big Rhea Ripley fan. Obviously, I've got Rhea Ripley in this match. I don't see Charlotte winning it. And I'm curious to see where Charlotte goes from here afterwards. Obviously, Rhea Ripley will move on to another challenger, wondering who that challenger would be. But for Charlotte, I'm wondering what would be next for her. We got the draft coming up. I think I'd like to see her switch brands, but we'll see.
Yeah, that I think a change of scene would do her very well. What do you think about the Nikki Cross stuff that they've been doing? I feel like I'm glad that she's on TV because for a while she was taken off TV, but I don't know if her celebrating, surviving a 2-minute match is the best way to build her up. But what do you think about that?
Honestly, like, to me, it comes off as like more comedic stuff, right? And I don't mind a little bit of comedy in wrestling. I'd prefer maybe if they did this without a title being involved. Maybe that would be better. All in all, to me, as long as Nikki Cross is happy with it backstage, because in my opinion, if you're going to put a professional wrestler in a situation where they're basically celebrating the fact that they didn't lose a match in 2 minutes, the wrestler, to me, has to fall on them whether they want to do that or not. If Nikki Cross isn't happy doing this stuff personally, please don't make her do it.
Right.
If she wants to be taken seriously, please let her be taken seriously. But if she's okay with it, then it's whatever to me. I forgot, I didn't even give a prediction. I predict Rhea Ripley to retain. And I hope she retains too, because I just don't think Charlotte should be the Raw Women's Champion right now.
Me too. Yeah, I also think that she will retain. Again, like you said, don't know who challenges next. I don't think going back to Asuka would be. Asuka's great, but I don't know if going back to Asuka right away is necessarily a good fit. And
I think Rhea's reign is going to be very entertaining once we have a Miss Money in the Bank. I
think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, and yeah, it's just tough with the Raw women's roster because they cut a lot of women too.
I was really hoping, if you want a good SummerSlam match for Rhea Ripley, perfect time to call up Io Shirai. They have the NXT history with each other. I don't see Io Shirai becoming NXT Women's Champion again after her long reign. So, and she's so damn talented, man. I would love to see it. Rhea Ripley and Asuka, Banks and Belair. I wouldn't mind seeing Banks and Belair again for the SmackDown side. But I think Io Shirai would be the perfect person for Rhea to face at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, with the draft coming up, could definitely see that happening, especially with Io. I mean, she came back on NXT, but she's feuding with Candice, who, you know, I don't see that being a long-term thing anyway. So this could just kind of be something to keep her doing something until the draft. So definitely Io going up and challenging Rhea would be great, because I don't see any other credible challengers that at least have been built up. Like I see Naomi, who, you know, could definitely be a champion or at least challenging, but she's losing matches. They just brought in Eva Marie and Piper Niven. We'll see how that goes. And another one of those things where you're like, you either like it or you hate it, but I feel like it's too early to even.
Yeah, it's too early for me to know my opinion on that yet. I'm going to have to see that play out. For all I know, it could be, I don't want to judge a book by a cover. It could be something cool, but so far I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, I really do like Piper. She was doing great stuff on NXT UK. And then you also have Nia, who's, I guess, not doing anything right now. Maybe Nia is the next challenger for the interim to Rhea. It's just so weird too, because it's like, it's hard to tell sometimes when Rhea is a heel or a face.
Right? It is. It's odd. That's one thing with her reign. I'm not sure if she's a heel or a face.
Yeah, and I think she's much better as a face, in my opinion. Like, she was great at
I agree.
Yeah.
Because she's very charismatic. It works for her.
Exactly. Yeah, I think they just need to let her be herself instead of what's going on right now.
Yeah.
All right, we got our second to last match. We have the WWE Championship. The champ, Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre inside Hell in a Cell. A rematch from, I guess, the last two pay-per-views. What are your thoughts, and who do you see winning this one?
Okay, I was going into this one as one of those people who was like, I'm big on Drew McIntyre, man. I really like him. I think he's very, very, very talented. Face of the company material, great guy, perfect body, great in-ring skills, good on the mic. I'm big on Drew McIntyre. I was very, very done with the McIntyre and Lashley feud, especially when I knew he was challenging at Backlash. I was like, okay, a little bit too much, you know, like, it's not, I don't have a problem with Drew in the title scene. It's just, as long as Bobby's champion, I don't think he should be challenging anymore. Is the stipulation that he can't challenge for the world title again, or is it that he can't challenge while Lashley is champion?
I think while Lashley's champion.
Okay, in that case, Bobby Lashley. I see Bobby Lashley winning. I think this match is going to be good. I will say they got me interested in their feud once again with that contract signing. I think that contract signing was very good. I don't know how many times they're going to be able to convince me that I'm interested in seeing them fight if this isn't the last time. But I'll give it to you, WWE. That contract signing, you got me invested in them again. But Bobby should win, because I want to see him fight Brock Lesnar if Lesnar returns at SummerSlam. Yeah, me too. That's what I'm hoping for, man.
Mm-hmm. That would be huge. Yeah, I also see Lashley retaining. And yeah, Drew is, like you said, Drew is really great. And I think especially last year, the fans were really behind him. And it's no fault of his, but I mean, the booking for Drew has been so weird at times, especially with him now as the challenger, challenging, losing, and then always like the guy who loses but always demands a rematch. Kind of
it's like when he fought Kofi to battle Bobby. I'm like, okay, Kofi's obviously going to win this match. I don't know how. Hopefully Xavier helps him, because like that'll make me believe it more than him cleanly beating someone the size of Drew. But I'm thinking in my head, like, all right, this is going to be interesting. Kofi and Lashley, Kofi's finally getting his rematch. I support this. Let's go.
Yeah.
Something new. Then he hit that. First of all, the Claymore was fucking amazing. The Claymore that he hit out of the ropes. But in my head at the time, I wasn't thinking it was amazing. He hit that Claymore, and even before the ref started counting, I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, there's no way that they did this again. I'm like, that night, even I'm in a group chat with a couple of my friends. I'm like, I have no words right now I'm like, amazing match, amazing Claymore kick. But as for the result, I love Drew, but I am at a loss for words. I can't believe what just happened.
Yeah. I loved the match. It was great. I was a little disappointed, but also with Kofi losing, they have some cool stuff going on with him and MVP since that match.
It's intriguing.
Yeah,
it's intriguing.
I'm interested to see where that stuff goes. But yeah, Lashley's got to retain. But it's also like, again, it's difficult too, because it's like, well, Drew has challenged 3 times now and lost all of them. What do you do with him now? You know?
To me, honestly, and I know this would be tough because it'd be a feud, in my opinion, he'd have to lose again. But I'd like to see him feud Jinder Mahal. I think that'd be very interesting. And I'm big on Jinder Mahal. I know a lot of people aren't. And for some valid reasons, I just think when he got the opportunity to be a key player on SmackDown, I found him very entertaining. So I'd like to see him feud Drew. And they got the history together, the 3MB history. So that'd be intriguing. Also, when you mentioned Kofi and MVP's backstage segments, I gotta say, that's one of the most interesting things on Raw to me, but as well as the backstage segments between Ali and Mansoor.
Yes, interested to see how that goes. I'm excited. I'm excited because they brought up Mansoor and he had one match lost, and even though people were talking about he literally hadn't lost any match on like main event. He had like a 40-match win streak.
It's crazy.
And then he lost, and then we didn't see him again. But now that him and Ali are in and around each other, Ali, what can't he do,
He's, oh my God. If they're running a show on like the 10-year anniversary of Punk's pipe bomb, crazy, that was 10 years ago now. But
right.
if they do that, I'm telling you, heel Ali, give this guy a live open mic. He's the type kind of like Punk where he'll turn heads. I know Punk's like you don't come across talents like Punk often. So it's crazy that I would compare the two. But I can just tell when this guy talks on Raw Talk, I just see CM Punk in him. Like, oh my God, he's so talented.
Yeah, like even with the Retribution stuff, wasn't really into it, but anytime that they gave Ali a promo, he knocked it out of the park. And it's crazy to think that he's such a good heel right now, because I never would have imagined it.
No,
like
when he was a baby face, you wouldn't get. He's one of the few guys who can do both, and those are the most talented guys. And it's crazy because I wasn't in the whole Retribution thing because I thought like the names and the masks were like cringy, but then he actually, in an Instagram post, I don't know why they don't include things like this on Raw, but in an Instagram post, he actually made it make sense. He made it like a race thing. He's like, I want these people to understand how it is to walk in my shoes, for people to discriminate against you because of the way you look and what your name sounds like. And I'm like, you could make this make sense on TV if you just let him say what he wants to say on TV. On Raw Talk, you know how many people would have been talking about that Monday Night Raw Legends episode if Ali cut the promo he said on Raw Talk on Raw in front of millions of people? Like, he has it. He has the it factor. Like,
he does.
Man.
Yeah, I really want him to at least just be doing something like meaningful on Raw. Even
when he's wrestling on Main Event, like I don't tune into Main Event weekly at all, but like I'll see like the little promo videos he makes when he's facing like Ricochet or Humberto Carrillo. I'm like, oh my God, like this makes me actually want to see the match. Like he's very talented.
Yeah, no, and anything that he's produced himself, like promos on Twitter or whatever, it's always been so good and captivating. Whether it's when he was a face or a heel. So
Exactly. He's like, whether he's a face or a heel, he's like top level main event face of the company quality to me.
I think
He's
so too.
very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hopefully they see that as well down the line, because I mean he can put on a great match. He's a great promo. He's got a unique look. You know,
I was really hoping they'd give him the chance to fight Kofi at Mania because they were kind of leaning towards it a little bit, and it would have made sense because I don't know if it's true, but there is that rumor that Kofi Mania took over because he got injured. He was supposed to face Daniel Bryan that year, and they were playing into that. And I'm like, I think it was Kofi that got injured, but by the time Mania rolled around, he was tag team champ defending. I'm like, oh my God, you could have.
yeah,
Oh
that would have been a
man.
great story. Yeah, I do remember, because when Ali was, when it looked like they were about to push him to fight Daniel Bryan, and then I think it was when he like went face first into the announce table, and that's how he got hurt.
Yeah.
That was like, it was really sad to see that, because he had already pinned Daniel Bryan before that, I think. And then literally since then, I don't think he's been the same in terms of like the way they see him. But yeah, more Mansoor, more Ali. You know, give me Garza. I don't know where he's been, last couple weeks, but
I'm excited to see where it goes, like no matter what. Like if it leads to them as a tag team, I'd rather it lead to them feuding each other because I like feeding each other in the marquee, but knowing WWE, it might be a tag team, which I won't even mind that. Just give this guy a live mic. Don't script his promos and give him a live mic.
exactly.
I will pay money for that.
Yeah, no, most definitely.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on to the last match that we have to talk about, and it's the Universal Championship. It's of course the head of the table, tribal chief, whatever you want to call him, Roman Reigns versus Rey Mysterio, who is also one half of the tag team champs. I guess they won't be defending their belts anytime soon, because Rey is in this feud. It's been a very short build. I think they built it maybe over 3 weeks, and I will say I wasn't necessarily excited about it. I thought, okay, this is gonna be a cool match, but when Roman picked up Dom and power bombed him out of the ring, I was like, all right, I'm ready to see this match. Like this, that was perfect. Great way to end SmackDown last week, and I'm invested in this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, Roman Reigns is doing the best work of his career. Heel Roman Reigns may possibly be the best thing going in professional wrestling right now. And it's crazy for me to say this because I'm a huge Edge head. Anybody who follows my social media knows that. And I'm not going to acknowledge him as no tribal chief because I still wanted Edge to win at WrestleMania. But newsflash, everybody, even though it hurts me to say it, I'm supposed to feel this way, which means they're doing their job. Mm-hmm. I'm actually still salty that Edge lost to WrestleMania. And guess what? Roman's the heel. So good on you, WWE, because I'm supposed to feel this way. And yeah, man, like this race thing, at first when I heard the reports that it was going to be Mysterio versus Reigns, I was like, compared to his other matches in his heel run, I don't know how I feel about this. Right. But Ray's just very good at selling stuff on the microphone. When he was talking, when he was like, I'm only going to acknowledge you as a coward that attacked my son. I'm like, he sells it very well. And then, that powerbomb to Dominic was crazy. That sold me on it a little bit too. In fact, I'd like to see Reigns versus Dominic on a SmackDown. Not a pay-per-view quite yet, because Dominic's still new. But I just think they could tell that story very well, because Dominic and Seth told the rookie versus veteran story very well. So imagine Dominic versus Reigns, who's also the Universal Champion.
Oh, yeah. I'll definitely take that on a SmackDown too.
Yeah, so prediction-wise, we all know Roman Reigns is retaining here. I'm very excited to see how this Jimmy Uso and Roman Reigns thing was going. I initially thought this pay-per-view was going to be Reigns versus Jimmy, and I thought the whole reason Hell in a Cell was early was so they could do Reigns versus Jimmy, because it would be a callback from last year, Jay versus Reigns, and with Jimmy in the cell and him quitting for Jimmy. But I'm curious to see now from a business perspective. I get why it happened early, because I think they did that so Money in the Bank could be in front of fans. Which, if I'm picking Hell in a Cell or Money in the Bank in front of fans, I'm gonna go with Money in the Bank. But yeah, I think this match will surprise. I think it'll be very good. Roman Reigns is amazing in the ring, even as a heel. He's, in my opinion, he was already great in the ring as a face, but as a heel, he's even better. And part of it, I think, as someone who's been getting a little bit more into MMA lately, I love that he uses the guillotine as a finisher, because I can buy into that and believe it. Right. So, yeah, I'm going with Roman Reigns for sure.
Yeah, I do like that idea of Dom and Reigns, and you bring up the Jimmy stuff, and I also thought that would have been good to have Jimmy and Roman in the cell this time from last year. And so that's why I am interested to see where that goes, because if we are getting Cena and Reigns at SummerSlam, I wonder how the direction of Jimmy and Roman goes. I mean, obviously there's still Money in the Bank in between that, and a lot of time to fill. But I do feel like if you're going to bring back Cena, he probably comes back at Money in the Bank, or whenever one of the first live shows are, to build that. Like, it's not just going to happen out of the blue.
The thing with Cena is, I like Cena just as much as I like Edge. They're like tied for my favorite of all time.
Okay.
I feel like it's a lot of people like, how can you have two? For me, I think it's fair because I can have a favorite baby face and favorite heel of all time. So Cena and Edge. But anyways, the only gripe I have with if they do Cena and Reigns is I know they're going to make Reigns win. And I want Cena to be the 17-time world champion. It's a debated topic. People are like, oh, it should be Orton. It should be Cena. It should be Cena. It should be Orton. Cena and Orton should both beat it. Orton should tie it, and they should just leave it at Flair, Cena, Orton. I just want it to be Cena, because in my opinion, I just think if you're going to tie it, you might as well break it. And also, people will say, and I acknowledge Orton's stuck around in the business a bit longer than Cena. But when you look at Cena's role as face of the company in this modern era, he did it on a full-time schedule. He did it longer than Hogan, Austin, and Rock. So I think he's earned that right, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I mean, I think one thing somebody brought up too on Twitter before is that since they have Mania, it's going to be Texas next year, and then the following year in LA. People are saying maybe they saved the big Cena championship win for Hollywood, since he's Hollywood anyway.
I've heard that. I've also heard Rock versus Reigns. I don't know how I feel about Reigns versus Rock, to be honest.
Really?
I don't know. I think Cena beating Rock was the perfect send-off for him. But at the same time, Reigns versus Rock makes a lot of sense. So I don't know.
Especially right now.
Yeah.
This version of Roman versus Rock, I think that would be probably the most, if you just let these guys do what they need to do in terms of promos and build.
You know what I did hear, though, is that some people were saying they might be prepping Reigns for a face turn, which I personally do not want, because him as a heel is the best thing going. Mm-hmm. But the only way I'd be cool with Reigns turning heel is if it's Cena versus Reigns, and at SummerSlam, they have Cena win the title by working a double turn.
Okay, yeah. I'll give you that.
Because then we get heel Cena and face Reigns. That would be really cool. The only thing is, does Cena have the time on his schedule to have a full heel run?
Yeah.
That's the only
thing.
Kicker. So who knows, man?
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I'm down for Rock and Roman if they do it next Mania, because I'm definitely going to the one here in Dallas.
That's awesome.
That would be really cool. That was actually the last Mania that I've been. That's the only Mania I've been to. Was the last one in Dallas when
32.
Yeah, Roman beat Triple H, and it was bad ending to that show.
I mean, you got to see Shane jump off the cell.
Yes.
Styles and Jericho was great, which is a match that gets overlooked a lot.
Mm-hmm. We saw Zack Ryder win the Intercontinental.
That was a great moment too. Yeah. That Mania is underrated. I think a lot of people look down on it because Reigns and Triple H, but I thought it was a good Mania.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's also the triple threat. I think it was Sasha, Becky, and
the women's title triple threat.
Yeah.
Oh, that might have been the perfect year to have the women first main event Mania, to be honest.
I know, yeah.
Looking back.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes, but definitely Roman retains. And yeah, who knows? Whatever we get in the future, it'll be good because it's Roman. You know, I don't think he did anything bad, but I am.
Oh, dude, and it's crazy. Teenage me would be so mad at me for praising Roman so much because I used to hate him as a teenager. I didn't hate the man. I met Roman as a teenager, and I would always acknowledge he's one of the nicest wrestlers I've ever met, even when I hated him on screen. But when I was watching him on TV, I was like, oh, fuck this guy. Like, come on. I think every wrestling fan, especially in their teenage years, just goes through some sort of rebellious phase where you want to hate what WWE is giving you.
Yeah. One of our co-hosts on our main show, he's always been a Roman Reigns fan since the Shield, and even when he was a face, he was actually at Mania 32 with us. And when Roman won, a bunch of boos, and then he's the only one just marking out for Roman's win. And like he had the Roman shirt on, everything, and he was doing the fist pose and everything.
Oh my god!
We've always made fun of him about being literally like Roman's only fan when he was a face. But now I think we all agree that
And it's such a John Moxley mark, because even before, I'm not a bandwagon John Moxley mark, by the way. Even as Dean Ambrose, he was always my favorite from the Shield. I remember as a teenager being so mad at that Mania because I'm like, this was the year that Dean Ambrose should have main evented. That match with Triple H, in my opinion, was better than the Mania 32 match with when Dean fought Triple H at Roadblock. I think that was better than Reigns versus Triple H. Yeah. Or even if they did Reigns versus Ambrose, I would have been cool with that too.
Yeah. And I mean, we never had a chance to have that triple threat at Mania.
Yeah, man.
Shield members. Who knows? I don't know, but it doesn't seem like a very likely.
Not very likely right now.
Yeah. But yeah, that'll wrap things up. I guess before we go, I do want to get your opinion. Something that happened yesterday. Samoa Joe popped back up on NXT. How'd you feel about that?
I saw it coming as soon as Regal announced that they need change in NXT. And I'm happy with it because I think Joe was one of those guys that shouldn't have been released and could be utilized very well. I'm hoping he can step in the ring and he can fight Adam Cole at some point because that would be awesome. Joe versus O'Reilly, Joe versus Bronson Reed. There's a lot of cool stuff we could see happen. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, they did a really good job. And one night they teased a ton of matches, which would probably culminate with him versus Cross. And I mean, when they were in the ring together, I was like, yeah, let's do this. Whenever Joe's ready, whenever he's cleared, because I would assume he's not cleared yet. That's why he's in this capacity. But when he's cleared and ready to go, let him fight every single person on NXT until he gets the title again. I'm really excited for that. I agree. Should have never been released. Honestly, majority of the releases probably shouldn't have been released.
Yeah.
Is what it is type thing.
It's an unfortunate situation, but it is business. Like that's how business works. And I'm sure everybody who was released is going to find some great things to do outside of the WWE, but it is unfortunate for sure.
Yeah. I think the main thing for me with like the release stuff, it's like you had so many talented people you could have utilized in some way. And the fact that majority of them got released without us getting to see their full potential in WWE is a shame. But then, like you said, on the brighter side, we get to see that somewhere else, sooner than later. But that'll wrap up our show. Thank you so much, Vikram, for
of course, man,
with us. Do you want to plug your channel and your socials real quick before we go?
Yeah, of course. So you guys can follow me on Instagram at Vikram_Prashar, VIKRAM_PRASHAR. On Instagram at Wrestling with Awareness. I'm sure you guys can all spell that out. Twitter at VP Show Official, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to watch my podcast in video format, my YouTube channel is The VP Show. And if you prefer listening to your podcast via like earphones, you don't want to see it, maybe you want to work out, maybe you want to play video games, maybe you want to do something else while listening to the show, it is available on Spotify as well. Wrestling with Awareness. Interviewed the likes of Rob Van Dam, Larry Zbyszko, Ken Shamrock, Tyson Kidd. The list goes on. Make sure you guys go check it out because it's definitely a great show.
Yeah, and I will attest that his show's great. I was watching the Mike Bennett one, I think last week, the interview you had with him, and that one was a really good one. Got to hear a lot about Mike Bennett I had never, known about. So yeah, Vikram's doing great stuff. Definitely.
Yeah, of course, Mike.
Definitely check out his show, and also check us out if
Thank you very much.
If you're listening to this and you're one of a friend or a follower of Vikram stuff, and you liked what you heard here, you can follow us on YouTube at Large Guys Pod. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, same handle. We're everywhere. We try to be everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever it is. And we do a bunch of stuff. I love all of the guys on my show. I have 3 co-hosts. We all are lifelong WWE fans, so we try to do stuff like this whenever we can. But we talk about everything possible on our other shows. We talk about food. We talk about sports, pop culture, movies, Marvel, everything. So check us out if you guys can. But again, thank you, Vikram. Thank you to everybody who's watching this prediction show. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.